The ocean is a world of incredible wonder and immense power. It covers most of our planet, a vast blue expanse teeming with life in all its extraordinary forms. From the smallest plankton to the great blue whale, the ocean supports a delicate web of existence. We often see its beautiful surface, the dancing waves and the shimmering light. But deep beneath the waves, our planet holds a memory. It remembers a time when the oceans were not a source of life but a place of widespread death. This ancient story, written in layers of rock, serves as a powerful warning. It tells us that the ocean's health is not guaranteed and that its balance can be dangerously disturbed. Imagine looking back in time long before humans walked the earth. The seas were filled with strange and wonderful creatures. Trilobites crawled on the seabed, and giant sea scorpions hunted in the shallows. Life was thriving in an explosion of diversity. But then, something went terribly wrong. The planet began to change, and the oceans started to suffer. This was not a sudden event like a giant asteroid strike. It was a slow, creeping sickness that spread throughout the water. The vibrant blues and greens of the ancient seas began to fade, replaced by a dark, unwelcoming stillness. The changes were so profound that they pushed the ocean to a breaking point, leading to a catastrophe unlike any other. The story of this ancient disaster is not just a fascinating piece of history. It holds important lessons for us today. On this 20th day of July, 2025, our own oceans are now sending us signals of distress. We see the vibrant colors of coral reefs turning a ghostly white. We hear about vast dead zones where fish can no longer breathe. These are not separate, isolated problems. They are symptoms of a larger issue, echoes of the same processes that caused the ancient seas to fail. By understanding what happened millions of years ago, we can better understand the challenges we face now. The Earth is speaking to us, and we must listen carefully to its ancient tale. The connection between the past and the present is startling. The same forces that triggered the ancient collapse are at work again today, driven by modern human activity. The planet is warming, the chemistry of the seawater is changing, and oxygen is disappearing from parts of the ocean. It is as if we are unknowingly following an old, dangerous recipe. But there is a crucial difference between then and now. This time, we are here to witness the changes. We have the science to understand them and the power to choose a different path. The ocean's ancient secret is not just a story of loss, it is a call to action for all of humanity. About 252 million years ago, our planet experienced the most severe extinction event in its history. It is known as the Permian-Triassic extinction, or more simply, the Great Dying. On land, many animals disappeared forever. But in the ocean, the devastation was almost total. It is estimated that up to 96% of all marine species vanished. The rich, bustling underwater world became a silent, empty place. The complex food webs that had taken millions of years to build simply collapsed. It was a planetary reset button, and the oceans felt it most acutely. The survivors were few and far between, left to inherit a barren, hostile sea. The creatures that disappeared were magnificent. There were the trilobites, with their intricate armored bodies, which had survived for over 250 million years. There were vast coral reefs, different from our own but just as vital, which provided homes for countless other species. Enormous predatory fish and strange, coiled ammonites swam through the waters. Almost all of them were wiped out. The oceans became eerily quiet. Imagine a thriving city suddenly falling completely silent, its inhabitants gone. That is what happened beneath the waves on a global scale. The sheer scale of this loss is difficult for us to comprehend. A world of life erased from existence. What was it like for the creatures living through this time? The change was relentless. As the water grew warmer and lost its life-giving oxygen, marine animals would have struggled to breathe. Fish would have gasped at the surface, searching for air that wasn't there. Creatures living on the seabed, like shellfish and corals, would have been among the first to perish as the toxic, oxygen-free water crept up from the depths. It was a slow, suffocating death that spread across the entire globe. The ocean, once a sanctuary for life, had turned into a trap from which there was no escape for millions of species. The aftermath was a lonely, empty ocean. For millions of years, the seas remained in this impoverished state. Life did eventually recover, but it was a long and difficult process. The species that came to dominate the new oceans were entirely different from those that had been lost. The Great Dying shows us how fragile marine ecosystems truly are. It demonstrates that even after hundreds of millions of years of stability, the ocean's life support systems can break down completely. This event serves as the ultimate cautionary tale, a stark reminder of what is at stake when the fundamental chemistry of the ocean is altered. So, what caused this catastrophic event? The primary suspect, scientists believe, was a series of immense volcanic eruptions in a region we now call Siberia. These were not ordinary volcanoes, they were colossal fissures in the Earth's crust that spewed lava and gas for hundreds of thousands of years. The scale was almost unimaginable, covering an area larger than Western Europe with molten rock. But it was not the lava that caused the most damage to the oceans. It was the enormous quantity of greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide, that poured into the atmosphere. This was the first ingredient in the recipe for disaster. This massive injection of carbon dioxide triggered rapid and extreme global warming. As the atmosphere heated up, the oceans absorbed much of that heat. A warmer ocean causes problems. One of the most significant is that warm water cannot hold as much dissolved oxygen as cold water. Think of a cold, fizzy drink compared to a warm one. The warm one loses its bubbles, its dissolved gas, much more quickly. The same principle applies to the ocean and its dissolved oxygen. As the seas warmed, they began to lose the very gas that most marine animals depend on to breathe, setting the stage for a global suffocation. The warming also disrupted the ocean's circulation. Normally, cold, oxygen-rich water from the poles sinks and travels along the ocean floor, replenishing the deep sea with oxygen. But as the poles warmed, this vital circulation system slowed down, and in some places, it may have stopped altogether. Without this constant supply of fresh, oxygenated water, the deep ocean began to run out of air. Bacteria that thrive in low oxygen conditions took over, producing toxic hydrogen sulfide gas. This poisonous gas then spread upwards, killing everything in its path and turning the deep sea into a vast, toxic dead zone. This deadly combination, extreme heat, loss of oxygen, and toxic water, created a lethal feedback loop. The warmer it got, the less oxygen the water could hold, which allowed the toxic zones to expand. This expansion killed more life, which led to more decay, consuming even more oxygen. The ocean was caught in a vicious cycle that it could not escape. It was this powerful, self-reinforcing process, kicked off by the volcanic eruptions, that led to the near-total collapse of marine life. It shows how a single trigger can set off a chain reaction with devastating consequences for the entire planet. Today, we are not seeing massive volcanic eruptions, but we are releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere at an alarming rate, primarily from burning fossil fuels. This is causing our planet to warm in a way that is disturbingly similar to the past. Our oceans are once again absorbing most of this extra heat and carbon dioxide. We are seeing the consequences all around us. One of the most visible signs is coral bleaching. When the water gets too warm, corals expel the tiny algae living in their tissues, turning completely white. This is not just a loss of color. It is a sign that the coral is starving and under severe stress. We are also witnessing the expansion of dead zones in our modern oceans. These are areas with so little oxygen that fish, crabs, and other animals cannot survive. They are often caused by pollution from farms and cities, which runs into the sea and feeds huge blooms of algae. When these algae die and sink, their decomposition uses up all the oxygen in the water. These dead zones are growing in size and number around the world, creating vast underwater deserts. It is a modern parallel to the oxygen-starved seas of the Permian period, a clear sign that we are pushing our oceans towards a dangerous tipping point. The good news is that we understand what is happening, and we have the power to change course. Unlike the creatures of the Permian, we can make conscious choices to protect our planet. Simple actions, when taken by many, can make a huge difference. We can reduce our use of single-use plastics that pollute the seas and harm wildlife. We can participate in beach cleanups to remove the rubbish that chokes our coastlines. Supporting sustainable fishing practices ensures that fish populations can remain healthy for future generations. These individual efforts help to build a culture of care for our blue planet. On a larger scale, we must work together to reduce the carbon emissions that are warming our world. This means embracing clean energy sources, protecting and restoring natural habitats like mangroves and forests, and demanding that our leaders take strong action on climate change. The story of the Great Dying is a profound lesson from our planet's history. It teaches us that the ocean, for all its vastness, is not invincible. It is a call to us, the current guardians of this world, to act with wisdom and foresight. By learning from the Earth's ancient secrets, we can ensure that our vibrant blue ocean remains a source of life and wonder for all time to come.